friends. Thanks so much for joining me and this growing Facebook Live community for another opportunity to finish out the previous week, start out the new week, and most importantly, just, show up for yourself, whatever that might mean. Today is going to be kind of the focus on a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves about meditation, and it's all over, we need to be more mindful, this is good for your health, it's, clarity and focus and all this stuff. But I tell you what, it's not easy to sit, to be still. And oftentimes there's that ticker tape of, well, I can't do it, my mind's not going to stop. And that's true. Mine isn't going to stop. It doesn't turn off. But there's a way to train ourselves, as mindfulness is this skill, a method to work in relationship to those thoughts, work into relationship to what's happening outside our world as it meets what's happening, all the who knows what, the turmoil, the uncertainty that we have experiencing inside when that happens. So oftentimes the beginning meditation in any way, shape, or form, a lot of times in many practices, you're guided to the breath. However, if you're someone who is anxious, or majority of the population, all of our breath is captured right up in here in the upper chamber of the lungs. So we never really get to experience the fullness of depth for what that does. There's an automatic connection. It's the vagus nerve. It starts in the back of the skull, the back portion of the brain, known as the wandering nerve, and it wanders down and touches every single organ. Well, one of the best ways to do that, to get it activated, because this is part of our rest and digest for our ability to get calm, ability to kind of drop in, and when we can take some of those pause moments to slow down and find a way to connect with the breath, this vagus nerve gets activated. And when it touches upon the different organs, the heart, the lungs, and then resides down deep into the gut and the belly, it's a really special connection for the body and mind, just to really, again, absorb a little bit more space. So, yet the breath is hard to find, we get it. And there's another way that we can then expand this mindful attention, and it's to the body. I mean, the body is what's here, yet we're never really truly connected to it. And so we'll explore the breath, we'll explore sensing into the body. And I purposely left the windows open in my condo, and there's going to be sounds. And so there's all these different things that we can take our attention to and towards. And the moment that we land, think of it as an anchor, like a refuge, just a place to come home to. If one of my teachers uses the analogy of when, when you're a kid and you're playing a game of tag and you have to get home, you have to get to the safe base, the home base. That's kind of what this is all about. Just finding something that works for you, whatever that's going to be, that you can capture as like your home base. Like, what is that home base of safety, of comfort, yet with a curiosity of, oh, what is this? What is it like to just sit? Am I bored? And check in with that. What am I bored of? Are these same thoughts just continuing to show up? And then it becomes a choice. We can choose to stay, again, in that ticker tape of story, or kind of just cast a spell of our everyday monotony of what it is we're doing day in and day out. Otherwise, we can choose to come back to this place that we have that ultimately resides inside. And I speak to this just because I know how challenging it can be. I've struggled with a lot of stuff in terms of trying to find what's right about meditation for me. And the more that I've worked hard to get it right, the more sense of struggle there is. And so oftentimes when we're holding our breath, we're truly resisting life. We're creating another barricade to what's really present in here. And so as we practice this morning, just practicing coming into what it is, just to sit and to be present, well, maybe perhaps a bit more open to what we can show up with in our minds, in our hearts, and perhaps bring a little bit more light to any holding patterns that we might really be experiencing day in and day out that prohibits our sense of growth and sense of connection and sense of ease and peace. So we'll go ahead and get ourselves started. And if you're up this morning, perhaps if you're generally lying down and that works for you, again, it's about finding your way. Otherwise, if you'd like to maybe perhaps try today to sit upright. And if so, posture is one of the ways that you can just bring attention to the body. And so perhaps the eyes can be left open or the eyes can be closed. It truly doesn't matter what you do, as long as it aligns with something to help you stay a little bit more focused, a little bit more at ease. It may be helpful just to take a few breaths here. Just as you invite the body to acclimate to your surroundings, to the intention that you have behind giving yourself some time, perhaps to settle, to center, or to clarify. And bringing your attention to any obvious parts of the body that might be holding tension. Perhaps anywhere in the face, the jaw, the shoulders. And inviting those regions to soften, as if they're melting. And notice what happens with that invitation. And inviting your attention to drift to where the body meets the ground or the surface that you're coming into contact with. Noticing the ridges of the body that are being supported. Perhaps the outlines of the skin or the clothing. Even if there's a blanket or something covering you. But just noticing what's coming into contact from the outlines of the body. To even what's coming into contact with each other on the body. Perhaps if the legs are touching each other. Maybe it's the feeling of the hands against the legs or the thighs. Perhaps it's feeling the placement of the seat, the buttocks just dropping into a cushion or a chair. And then from that, just noticing the contact. The spine allows for the body to be held in a framework. The bones, the muscles, the tendons and ligaments, everything that's involved with this body just to settle. Becoming aware of the position of the head. Noticing if there's a tilt of the chin downward or slumping down, or especially if you're seated upright. And imagining there's a soft lift to the very crown of the head skyward. And noticing here if the eyes are remaining closed. The seal of the lashes touching each other. Perhaps noticing the contact of the lips, if any at all. Allowing the attention to settle. Perhaps noticing where the mind may already be drifted. If it's to a future thought, maybe planning or trying to escape this current reality condition of what's actually happening right now. Get into planning mode. Perhaps remembering mode. And just checking into what's captured the attention away from the body, away from this moment. And seeing if you can bring it back to the sensation of breathing. And where it may be helpful to take a breath, a longer breath in, and then a longer breath out. Just patiently holding the hand of patience with the breath as it naturally occurs. Perhaps the breath may not be able to feel long, it may feel short or tight. Just becoming aware of how the breath feels on the breath in and the breath out. Again, staying curious in this science lab of the body. Just exploring the spaciousness that fills the lungs as the breath comes in. And how there's allowing of excess when the breath falls out. Either choosing here to stay with a breath or inviting a sense of just connection to feeling the body move as it breathes. Or it may be helpful to place a hand on the belly just to sense into the belly breathing into itself. Noticing the expansion as the in-breath allows the skin of the belly to touch the hand. And notice the out-breath as there's a softening of the belly back, down and in. Breath in, noticing any movements, the abdomen or the skin stretching. Perhaps a sense of holding, a way of resisting what's really here. And just soften into this space. Notice how the breath opens. Notice how the breath may allow. Again, just checking back in with the mind if there's any judgments about the breath or a sense of boredom that kicks in. Or if it's that similar story of I can't, or the mind won't stop. And is that true? And what if you are able, again, just to notice that, hey, I see you, I see those thoughts, I see what they are, for what they are, but are they really true? Are they really happening? And just inviting the attention back into the body, breathing, into the feeling of the breath. Or perhaps exploring sound. Just opening up another layer of what you can land your attention on and towards. Maybe it's just the sound of my voice. There may be other sounds occurring inside the room that you're in. And without searching for sound, just being open to what's here without having to react. There may also be sounds that are coming in from outside the room. Perhaps the sound of birds, cars, sirens, or voices. Perhaps no sound at all. And each time the mind wanders off this anchor, whether it be the breath or the belly moving, or the feeling of just noticing what it's like to sit, just coming back to what's really here, aligning yourself with why did I show up today? Just staying connected to this attitude of openness, being able to choose to notice that when the mind drifts, you get to wake up again and again and again to help break the cycle and patterning, just to simply allow that strengthening of the mindfulness muscle to come back to the present moment. This moment that's now, this only moment that we have. And just slowly taking a deeper breath in, and a deeper and fuller breath out. And just checking in with, again, the posture. Noticing any points of the body that feel more open or at ease, if even at all. And in closing, either taking a hand on the heart or perhaps both hands in front of the chest. I want to close with an autobiography in 5 chapters by Portia Nelson. It begins with, I walk down, chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk and I fall in and I am lost. I'm hopeless and it isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk and I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk and I see it's there, yet I still fall in and it's habit. My eyes are open, I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. So friends, honoring you in this practice of what street you choose to walk down, the moment we can become a little bit more aware of our attention, aware of our attitudes, and this ability to show up for ourselves wholeheartedly. And again, using this as a call of action to what can you do to come into the breath, come back more into the body each moment. Perhaps it's taking 2 of those minutes that you scroll on the phone to turn it down and just breathe instead. Give your eyes a rest. If you're watching TV and there's commercials, maybe focusing on the breath and listening to the sound of the commercials instead of visually seeing what's on the screen. But most importantly, it's finding your way, a way that resides and lands for you to come back to and then continue to build and grow and return to that person that you've always been. Sometimes we just forget how to access. So enjoying your May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, if you're in celebration mode or if you're choosing to watch this later. It's one moment at a time and just taking it without an over aggressive approach. Just doing what it is that you can with whatever you're showing up with, one breath at a time. Namaste.